Hey there, I'm glad you're here. My name is Chris, and this is the Sons of Seaver YouTube channel where there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad gear. Today we are talking about a pair of Vibram 5 fingers. This is the V-Train 2.0. Really cool shoe, but before I get into it, I want to talk about how we are affiliates of Vibram. And while we do benefit from you going down to the link in the description and checking out their website and buying something through that link, we are not allowing that to affect our opinion of their products. There are some of their products that don't vibe with us 100%. You can actually go and hit this card up here and head over to our review of the V-Run Retro, which we don't love. There are some things that we liked about this shoe, but it didn't get a great score overall. So hopefully that tells you that we don't allow our relationship with them to bias us towards all of their products. That being said, I do really like this shoe, spoiler alert. So if at any point you like what I'm saying about this guy and you're interested in taking a closer look at it, head down to the link in the description, which will navigate you over to their website and you can shop around. We are going to use the V-Run Retro as a little bit of a reference while talking about this shoe, mainly as we talk about specs and then as we get into running in this shoe, which I've done a fair bit of. So let's hit their website and go right into the specs of the shoe. So the first comparison I want to make between these two is the weight. So this guy is 7.8 ounces, while the V-Run Retro is 5.7 ounces. So about a 2-ounce difference there. And in my opinion, it's negligible. The next comparison I want to make between these two shoes, and they are going to be identical in that, is their stack heights. So this guy has a 4mm rubber outsole and a 2mm EVA insole, and so does this guy. Obviously, the biggest difference when it comes to those soles is going to be the pattern on the bottom. This guy is a little bit more flat, which I think actually adds to its ground feel. You can feel a bit more detail underfoot in this guy, but this guy is going to be a little bit more grippy for lateral movements in the gym. Moving on from there, they're completely different on this next one, and that is the upper material construction. The upper of this is mostly polyester with some TPU, which is a fancy word for like moldable kind of squishy plastic, which you'll see here on this side and here on the inside of the shoe. And the reason they do that is to add a little bit of structure. This is meant to be a training shoe, so there is going to be lateral movements, bending and twisting, whereas with a shoe like this, it can be really lightweight. And I think that the top is just microfiber material because you're moving in one plane of motion straight for the most part in that guy. The last thing is the care instructions, which I always love with a majority of the 5 fingers that we work with, and that is machine wash cold and air dry. You can totally muck these things up and get them absolutely disgusting, throw them in the washing machine, hang them out to dry, and they're just about good as new. Those are all the details that I wanted to talk about as far as the website goes. Let's get into a little bit more as far as comparison between these two guys go. So again, this guy is going to be a little bit more rigid, and that is calculated for sure. One thing I wanted to focus on with that rigidity is the lacing system. So up here at the top, we've got one big Velcro strap, and then we have this pull tab, which is Velcro as well. It Velcros down to the bottom part of that strap. So you pull this tight as you want. You adjust the little keeper here, and then I actually like to tuck this cord up under, and then you put the Velcro strap over, and it keeps everything nice. Now, one thing I'll say is this shoe, you can actually slip it on and off once you set it up. I have it set up the way that I like it here, and I will just slip it on and off my foot. With that, I haven't had any issues with it being too loose and slipping off of my foot on its own. I wouldn't say the same thing about the V-Run Retro. It has that same system for the most part, but you do need to loosen and tighten these things as you take them on and off your foot. This last and most important comparison I want to make between them is one that you can't see very well on camera, but it's between the insoles. So the insoles of, I think, almost all 5 fingers are sewn in, so you can't remove them or adjust them in any way. And for whatever reason, this was one of our biggest things with the V-Run Retro. On the big toe, the insole only goes about 2/3 of the way up the toe. So it creates a little friction point on the point of your big toe and that was causing us some major discomfort, and we couldn't go for super long runs in that guy. I don't have that problem on this guy. It was something that I was concerned about, but if I stick my finger up in here, I can feel that that insole goes all the way to the front, and then it actually curls up a little bit towards where your toenail would be. So I don't think that's gonna be an issue with this. I've done a good amount of miles in this guy, and I have had no discomfort whatsoever. Now this is starting to get into some of our categories that we base our rating system off of. So let's talk about that a little bit. If you are new to the channel, we take every product that comes through here and we rate it based on 3 categories. Those are function, feel, and versatility. It gets a score of 0 to 10 on each of those categories, and then we average those numbers out to give you your final product score. Little disclaimer, take those scores with a grain of salt. They are based on our opinion and are very subjective. Before I get into our rating system, I want to talk about one of our affiliates who fills a gap that so far Vibram does not for us, and that is rugged outdoor hiking shoes. We like ours from Lems. This is their Boulder Summit Nitro. It is a canvas upper material. They also have a really cool, nice brown leather version that Eric has. This is actually the first product that we reviewed on the channel. I'll leave a card here if you want to go and check it out, but it is a really solid, rugged hiker with all of the Barefoot specs that you want. As minimal of a sole as you could get on a really rugged hiker. I think it is 16 millimeters. If I remember correctly, it's like 20 total in the total stack height. So much thinner than a majority of hiking boots out there. We have a pretty flexible sole with that thinness. We have a wide toe box for total toe splay and articulation, and we have 0 drop, which we absolutely need when it comes to keeping good posture out there on the trail. Final nail in the coffin for this guy is that it is completely waterproof. So this thing is gonna do fantastic for you in crazy weather. One day after we received these and pulled them out of the box and wore them around just a little bit, we took these on an 8-mile hike up a mountain, 4 miles up, 4 miles down in 3 feet of snow, and they functioned flawlessly. There were many parts of our bodies that were sore, but our feet were not one of them. If you're interested in checking out any of the offerings from Lems, head down to the link in the description. It'll navigate you over to their website where you can shop around. Getting into our first category of rating, that is function. And this guy is gonna do really well. Let's nail down what its function is, and that is a training shoe. So think of a traditional Nike or Reebok training shoe, a shoe that you would wear to the gym for maybe a little bit of cardio, but mostly weightlifting and lateral movement. That is what this guy is for, and I think it covers that ground fantastically. I think all of the features that it has lend itself well to weightlifting and lends itself well to all of the kinds of movements that you see yourself doing in the gym. It's gonna get even higher scores because it lends itself well to stuff outside of the gym, like road running. The first day I got this, I wore it around the house for a little bit. The day after I got this, I wore it to the gym and had my lift in it and loved that. The day after that, I had scheduled a 7-mile run, and I was kind of apprehensive because of that 6 millimeter stack height to wear this guy, but I had to give it an honest opportunity. So I wore it and it did fantastic. My feet felt great in this out on the road. We have a comparison video for this shoe against another toe training shoe that's not from Vibram, and that'll happen in the future after I review that shoe as well. But they are very comparable to each other. That one has a 9 millimeter stack height, and the weird thing is I don't see too much difference in the feel between the two of these when it comes to being out on the road. All that to say, this can function in the gym and it can function as a road runner. Without getting too close to the versatility of the shoe, which is our last category we'll talk about, I'll just say that this functions very nicely. And because of that, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Talking about the feel of the shoe, I actually think to date this is my most comfortable pair of Vibrams. There are 2 things that I consider when it comes to the feel of a shoe in this feel category. The first one is how does it actually feel on foot? The second one is what does the ground feel like? What is the feel of things under your foot while you're wearing the shoe? Starting with the on foot feel, this thing knocks it out of the park. It feels really good. It feels like you're just putting on a rugged sock. This is one of the only barefoot shoes I would wear without socks. Obviously, if you're gonna wear socks, you gotta wear toe socks. That's okay. We got a bunch of toe socks that we're gonna do a big review on at some point in the near future. Tell you what the best pair of toe socks out there is, in our opinion. But you can wear these completely barefoot, and they feel fantastic in my opinion. Now let's talk about the ground feel a little bit. This is one place where it's not gonna do as well as the Retro Run in my opinion. I think that's because the pattern on it is a little bit more flat. So when you step on something, that flatness translates the object well to your foot, and you can kind of tell what it is a little bit better. We're a little bit more rugged, disjointed, and grippy down here. And so I think that makes it so that the ground feels not as great. Still really good. I still feel like I have fantastic ground feel in these, way better than traditional shoes, but just not as good as the V-Run Retro. But because it does so well with on-foot feel and decent with ground feel, I'm gonna give this guy another 9 out of 10. We have touched on the versatility just a little bit. And from that conversation, I think you're gonna know already that it's gonna get a decent score, but it's gonna get knocked back a couple points because it lacks the same thing that all 5 fingers lack, and that is any kind of weatherproofing. If you walk through wet grass in these guys for just a couple of steps, your foot's gonna be wet. If you're wearing socks, those are gonna be wet, and they're gonna be wet for a while. Honestly, if you're just jogging on the sidewalk and you run over a little bit of wet sidewalk, you're probably gonna get some water in this guy. We have yet to see a rugged, truly weatherproof Vibram 5-finger. We are consulting with them on that kind of idea because I think it's what people want, and I think it would be relatively popular. Think Lem's Boulder Summit, but with separated toes, maybe, probably, very likely, much thinner on the stack height as well. That's an attractive idea to me, and I can't wait to see if that ever comes true. But that's where this guy's gonna lose points. It doesn't do well in challenging weather. It is a fair weather shoe. Outside of that, you can lift in it, you can definitely run in it, and my wife actually doesn't mind the way that it looks. There are 4 other colorways if you're not digging the camo. Those other colorways didn't vibe with me, so I didn't go for them. But they have an all black, a black with a blue heel, a gray with a yellow heel, and a black with an orange heel. And of all of those, I liked this one the best. But they are wife approved to be worn as just a casual shoe. So there's 3 categories that it can fit into. One that it's really meant to, another one where you could argue that it may be meant to, but I don't think it's meant for long running. And I've done 8-milers in this guy and loved it. I don't think it's meant to do that. It does it pretty well in my opinion. So because of all of that, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 on versatility. Doing our averages, it would technically get an 8.3. I'm gonna bump it up to an 8.5 because I think it deserves it, and I just really like this. Honestly, I think this tops the V-Trek that I've already done a review of. Again, card up here if you wanna go check that out. I would go for this first. That is my new opinion. I say in that video of the V-Trek that that would be a good first 5-finger to get into. I think this actually does a little bit better job. I think, again, you could wear it just out and around. It goes to the gym, it goes on runs. I think that it is a solid contender for that all-around 5-finger. Guys, if you liked this video, we would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. There are a lot more reviews coming down the pipeline. So if you like the content, make sure to hit the bell as well so that you can get notifications. There's a couple different places where you can follow us to get more content. The first one is Instagram, and that is where you can stay up to date with the latest products that we are working with. We are also on Strava, which is a platform where you can track your activity and follow other people and see what activity they're doing. Also, you can log what shoes you're wearing during the activity and track how many miles you're putting on them, which I think is kind of cool. Go follow us there on Strava. Eric has his own YouTube channel called A Pilot's Life for Me that focuses on really cool cinematic landscape drone videography. And I have my own YouTube channel and Instagram page called Seaver Shoots that focuses on gun industry and preparedness reviews. There are links to all of these down in the description, along with all of the affiliates that we are proud to work with. We're glad you're here. We appreciate your view. And as always, we will catch you in the mountains, or for this one, in the gym or out on the road.